African Law Reform Commission has approved the issue paper on domestic violence, the Criminal Law Response. Now, the paper, which is up for public comment, aims to identify the manner in which the law responds to criminal behavior perpetrated by people in a domestic relationship and to determine whether this response is adequate. The Commission states that its purpose is to initiate and stimulate debate and explore proposals for law reform. Joining me now to talk about the impact of this paper is Action Society spokesperson Baloyi. Kelly, good evening and thank you very much for your time. First and foremost, let's talk about what we have been seeing, an increase, for example, in social media reporting of domestic violence, more than we are seeing that, I suppose, in any way being reported at the police stations themselves. What does that say about the domestic violence reality in our communities?
Hi, Tabu. Thank you so much for having me. Well, the reality of domestic violence within South Africa is evident. We have 1 in 5 partnered women that experience physical violence by the hands of their partner. And you know, the prevalence of physical violence is greater amongst the less educated women, those that do not have, secondary education or higher education. And South Africa has one of the highest known for basically domestic violence in the world. So that is the reality of domestic violence in our communities. And as Action Society, we want to highlight the problem that we are facing. We want to highlight the reality of violence against women and children in our country.
Yeah, the fact that it's not as broadly reported in police stations, but of course people want to get solidarity from spaces like social media. What does that say about how police have prioritized the protection of women and children and vulnerable groups in the country?
You know, Tabo, that is what we've been fighting for as Action Society. That police, our justice system has been letting down our survivors. We don't call them victims, we call them survivors. It has been a continual cry from organizations, especially our organization, that first, number one, our police, that first contact with our survivors is not where it's supposed to be. It is not helping the survivor, and cases just fall on the wayside. So we have been time and again asking for our police to be trained to deal with cases such as these.
Yeah, and how does the review or the reform of the law on the Domestic Violence Act impact on that particular request that you've been making?
Double, for the past 10 years, we have seen that physical violence and the face of violence, the evidence of violence has drastically changed over the past 10 years. That is evident. What happened 10 years ago when it came to domestic violence what happened then is not happening now. It has changed. And with that is why we are saying we are accepting this review. We are saying it comes, I won't say at the right time, it's long overdue, but it needs to happen because we need to deal with these atrocities accordingly, and this review comes at the right time. But most importantly, public participation is incredibly important. Groups like faith-based groups, the men's groups, community organizations, these survivors have given their testimonies as to what is going on, what they have experienced. And we need to get those input when it comes to this review. So we are extremely happy that public participation is called for and is put at the front to make sure that we deal with this.
Yeah, and for you, what do you make of it, and why are you supporting it as a reform of the law, and how do you believe this will impact on our criminal law response to the question of domestic violence?
Double, as Action Society, like we said, this is a step in the right direction, but we're also saying that it's long overdue. But at the same time, we are saying that, yes, this can happen, this review can happen, and policy can be implemented, policy can be changed, rather to say. But implementation is very important. You know, we can implement, we can write these laws and we can improve these laws, but implementation is very important. So this is a wait and see. But we are hoping that implementation takes place, and when the review happens, and when public participation is done, when public gives the input, and when policy is influenced by the public through public participation, we are hoping that these things can be implemented and work for the people on the ground.
Yeah. How better can we raise awareness about this public participation exercise? I mean, of course, it's part of the work that you will be doing, certainly to ensure that the voices of the communities and their opinions are incorporated in this review. But what more can be done?
Yeah, Tabo, we should go ground, we should have a ground force. As Action Society, we will make sure social media is the #1 force right now. We will be on social media encouraging, we will be pleading with our community and the public to participate in this review. At the same time, we as South Africans need to take the responsibility to speak about it wherever we go, whether it be in church services, whether it be at the barber, whether it be at school. We must take this upon ourselves to speak about this, because this is happening within our communities. It is the lady next door being abused and we don't know what to do about it. It is those people that needs to get involved and be at the forefront to discuss this and open this debate.
Kelly, we appreciate your time. Thank you very much for joining us. Action Society spokesperson there, Kelly Baloyi, calling on the communities to engage and participate in this particular process, as, of course, that paper is out and requires your input as to what should be incorporated in the Domestic Violence Act.